AITA for acting differently after my girlfriend returned from her secret trip? I'm 31 years old, and I never thought I would be the type of guy to post this kind of story, but here we are. Let us just say that when my 28-year-old girlfriend announced that I was going to be blocked for 5 days during her girl's trip, I did not protest. I took notes. I am a private investigator by trade, and what I discovered during this blackout was not just about a breach of trust. It was much bigger, and when she got home, I made sure the truth blew up in her face in an unforgettable way. When people hear private investigator, they immediately picture someone hiding behind a dumpster with a camera, a trench coat, and a fedora, the whole film noir aesthetic. In reality, it is not like that. Most of the time, it is boring paperwork, following people who suck at being discreet, and then watching them incriminate themselves in the stupidest ways possible. People think they are smart, but they are not. If lying were an Olympic sport, most would not even qualify. I have been doing this long enough to spot the patterns. The nervous little laugh, the overly long explanations, the accidental contradictions. To me, they flash like neon lights, and until then, I was fine with it. It is the job. But at home, I thought I was safe. Vanessa, my girlfriend of 3 years, was supposed to be the part of my life where I could turn off my detective brain and just be me. We lived in my house. Not ours, mine. I bought it. I paid for it with years of sleepless nights, stupid risks, and assignments nobody wanted. But I let her turn it into a home for both of us. It felt good to share a space with someone I trusted. And trust, to me, was more precious than gold. I had been burned before, at work and in life. So when I gave Vanessa all my trust, I believed I was making the right choice. Vanessa had friends I never liked. The Regina George version of a trio. There was Miranda, the leader, a sort of cheerleader who never really left high school in her head. Divorced twice, and she were those like trophies. Then there was Kayla, her shadow. If Miranda jumped off a bridge, Kayla would fly down screaming Wywello. And Lydia, the quiet one. Not the nice kind, but the calculating kind who observes, stores everything, and uses it later. Every time they came over, they treated Vanessa like their little show dog, reminding her how fun she used to be before settling down with me, the stable and boring guy. Not to mention the fact that since she moved in with me, she never had to worry about bills or car repairs again. But I knew the drill. They wanted her back in their circus, not leaving her in my camp. Anyway, the real drama started when Vanessa announced her 5-day girls' trip to Las Vegas. Theoretically, just her and the 3 idiots ready to tear up the town. I was not a fan of the idea, but hey, she needed time with her friends. I did not want to be the controlling boyfriend. A few days before departure, we were packing. I casually asked her what flight she was taking and what hotel they were staying at, just in case there was an emergency. It sounds like a normal question, right? Except she spun around as if I had just asked for her social security number. Arms crossed. A hard stare. That is none of your business, she said. I laughed, thinking she was joking. But she was serious. Stiff. What do you mean? I just want to know where you will be, just in case. And she replied, it is a girls' trip. You are not part of it. I do not want you to know where I am or what I am doing. For once, this is for me, without you watching over my shoulder. Then she dropped the bomb. You do not need to know what happens during this trip. Period. That is why I am going to block you until I get back, so you do not annoy me. Blocked. Not, do not text me too much. Not, I will be busy. No. Blocked. Like I was some creepy stranger she met on Tinder one night. I looked at her. I was not even angry. My brain was analyzing. Because you see, in my line of work, when someone builds a wall, it is nothing new. And I have learned one thing. You do not crash into it. You do not beg. You do not climb over it. You go around it. So, I did not argue. I did not give her the fight she wanted. I just nodded calmly. All right, have fun. And I swear I saw her face falter for a second, like I had just spoken an unknown language. She wanted me to explode so she could play the victim. Instead, I gave her nothing. The next day, I dropped her off at Miranda's place. That was their starting point. She was all smiles, excited, taking selfies like it was the night before prom. Before getting out, she gave me a quick kiss and said, do not miss me too much. I will call you when I land to unblock you. I smiled. I will not be bored. She laughed, thinking I was joking. I was not joking. She grabbed her suitcase, waved without looking back, and disappeared into the house. And me? I did not go home to slouch on the couch. I drove straight to my office. The boyfriend had just clocked out, and the detective had just clocked in. Vanessa thought she was forcing a 5-day blackout on me. She had just given me a 5-day green light. She left me space, and I was going to fill it with light. Way too much light. As soon as she cleared TSA, I was no longer the boyfriend. I was the guy people pay a lot of money to uncover the truths they prefer to bury. She wanted 5 days of shadows. Perfect. I was going to turn them into 5 days of revelations. First stop, my office. Nothing glamorous, just too many screens, folders piled up in a chaos only I understand, and a coffee maker from the 90s that refuses to die. It is my sanctuary, where the magic happens. I started, as always, with the vehicles. I knew Miranda could not resist posting everything. So I opened her page, and sure enough, the photo was there. The 4 of them smiling like they were going to change the world, and behind them in the driveway, an SUV. I zoomed in, grabbed the license plate number, and ran it through a database I probably should not admit having access to. 30 seconds later, I had a hit. The car belonged to Charles Whitman, a senior partner at a big downtown investment firm. Married, 2 kids, the perfect family man. The kind of guy who wears a different Rolex for every day of the week. Interesting start. She had said she was taking a cheap flight. Spirit Airlines or Frontier, something like that, which did not exactly match Mr. Luxury SUV. So, I dug deeper. Flight manifests bore everyone else, except me. To me, they are puzzle pieces. I scanned every flight leaving our city for Vegas that morning. No Vanessa, no Miranda, no Kayla, no Lydia. Not even under maiden names or initials. Nothing. But then I saw it. A private jet owned by Charles Whitman's firm. A flight plan was filed from our airport to Las Vegas at the exact time their low-cost flight was supposed to take off. Boom. Second piece of the puzzle. And this is where the fun part starts. I did not need Vanessa to give me a single clue. Blocking me was not just shady. It was a laser-engraved invitation for me to start digging without having to worry about leaving tracks. She thought silence would protect her. In reality, it allowed me to turn up the volume. But I was not going to jump to conclusions. You cannot walk into a courtroom saying, "My girlfriend acted suspicious," and expect the judge to nod. What you need is solid, clean evidence. That is my job. So I started cataloging. License plates, flight logs, timestamps. Every crumb got its own file on my desk. Years of habit. And the further I got, the more I realized Vanessa was not just lying about her location. She was lying about the entire trip. This was not a girl's trip sponsored by cheap flights and tourist buffets. No, this smelled like something bigger, something dirtier. And I was already a few steps into the maze, watching the walls close in on her. If there is one thing I have learned in this business, it is that people always end up exposing themselves. They can look you right in the eye, build a beautiful, shiny story, and swear on their grandmother's grave. Give them a few days, and they leave their fingerprints all over the crime scene. And when you deal with girls like Vanessa's friends, loud, superficial, and addicted to social media, it is not a question of if they will mess up, but how badly. And these girls did not just make a mistake. They wrapped the truth in a pretty gift box with a bow. Kayla was the MVP of blunders. Her whole page was set to public, as if she desperately wanted strangers to follow her life. If someone sneezed near her, there would probably be a selfie with the caption, "OMG, I caught a cold. Pray for me." That is the kind of attention junkie she was. So obviously, a few hours after they arrived in Vegas, she started posting. First, a poolside picture. Harmless to anyone else. For girls in sunglasses, colorful cocktails, smiles. To me, it was practically a police lineup. I zoomed in on the reflection in Kayla's sunglasses, and there, perfectly clear, was a guy sitting at their cabana table. Not a random hotel guest. No, a guy with them. I leaned back, cracked my knuckles, and smiled. Amateurs. They always forget the details. A few swipes later, she posted a video dancing in a club. Strobe lights. Music so loud the phone microphone was dying. But I was not looking at the dance floor. I was looking at Miranda. She was leaning towards a guy. Definitely not her ex-husband, and not for a simple friendly chat. I slowed the video down frame by frame and saw his hand slide onto her waist. Cameras do not lie. Then Lydia, the quiet one, finally posted something. A picture of a fancy dinner. Classy vibe. 4 well-dressed women smiling in front of a large abstract painting. Normal people scroll past. I stopped. That painting was not random decor. I did a reverse image search. Less than 5 minutes later, I knew exactly where it was located. In the private dining room of a high-roller suite at the Wynn. And those suites are not for tourists. You do not book them on Expedia. You get access to them if you are a casino whale, or if you are with one of those whales. That was my smoking gun. I called an old contact who works in security there. He owed me a favor, so he checked. And guess what? Charles Whitman was in town that week entertaining clients. The suite was booked under his name, and he was not alone. 4 women were registered as guests. And yes, one of the names was Vanessa's. There it was. It was not a girl's trip. It was a corporate-sponsored vacation, and Vanessa was not there to drink margaritas with her friends. She was part of the entertainment package. I could have stopped there. I had enough to burn our relationship to ashes. But like I said, I never do things halfway. I wanted everything from start to finish. And that is when I found the part that really hurt. In one of Kayla's videos in a casino lounge, I spotted Vanessa in the background. She was laughing, drink in hand, leaning towards a guy. The camera only caught his profile, but his posture, his muffled voice over the background noise. Something clicked. I extracted the audio. I cleaned it up with software, then compared it to my voice database. A shot in the dark, but I had to know. The program spit out a name. Colton. Yes, that Colton. Her ex-fiancé. The same one she had described to me as a loser. The one who supposedly broke her trust and her heart. The one she said she never wanted to hear about again. And there he was, in Vegas with her, paid for by Charles Whitman. I stood frozen in front of the screen. All the layers of the lie collapsed at once. She did not block me for her privacy. She blocked me to live another life for 5 days. A life that included a wealthy married boss, an ex-fiancé, and 3 girlfriends to cover it all up. It was not just an inappropriate relationship. It was an entire circus. But here is the difference between me and an average guy. An average guy finds this out, and he blows up her phone. He shows up at the airport screaming, or he writes her a novel complaining about it. Me? I have spent my career being patient, letting people trap themselves while I take notes. So, I did not scream. I did not get drunk. I did not send her a wall of text about betrayal. I sat down, cracked my knuckles, and started planning. Because this was no longer just about catching her in the act. This was about consequences. And if there is one thing I believe in even more than trust, it is that every action deserves its matching ending. Vanessa thought she was being clever with her blackout. What she did not realize is that she had just given me the space I needed to drag her entire life into the bright light. And the light burns. At that moment, I knew Vanessa was not going to get a quiet breakup or a simple cold shoulder. She was going to get a full-blown production. She wanted Vegas drama? Fine. I was going to give her a stage she could not walk off. No shouting in the kitchen. No, we need to talk, where she could cry for sympathy. No, it was going to be public, undeniable, and final. In my eyes, lies only truly die when the truth exposes them in front of a crowd. The first piece of the puzzle was Charles Whitman, the rich guy with the SUV, the private jet, and apparently a hobby of importing girls' trips. Men like him walk around thinking their bank account is a shield. No matter what they do, they believe they can just throw money at it until it goes away. But money cannot rewrite a flight plan. Money cannot erase a win guest list. Those things are concrete, and I already had them locked down. So, I put together a file clean enough to be handed straight to a lawyer. Flight logs, timestamps, photos of Vanessa and her crew in his suite. All perfectly packaged. Then I looked up his wife, Dr. Evelyn, a brilliant, respected pediatrician. The kind of woman who thinks her husband is on a business trip, not financing a lavish getaway for a group of young women. I did not send the file directly to Dr. Evelyn. That is not my place. I sent it to one of the best divorce lawyers in her city with a simple note. Your client might want to see this. Her husband's trips are not what she thinks. Enough to light the fuse. Next, there was Colton, her ex, the one she swore was dead and buried, the one who supposedly broke her trust, humiliated her, and destroyed her. Funny how things turn out. I was not surprised he was in Vegas with her. I was just annoyed by the magnitude of the lie. But I had options. Colton lived like he was untouchable. Real estate, luxury cars, motivational quotes posted as if he were the Wolf of Wall Street. But court records do not lie, and there was a pile of them. Lawsuits, furious partners, missing money, rotten deals. Colton blamed it all on bad luck. I knew it was hot air. I called a journalist buddy who specializes in guys like him and fed him a little tip. Developer, Vegas trips, numbers that do not add up. Then I gave him Colton's name. It was like throwing a piece of meat into a shark tank. Colton did not know it yet, but his empire built on wet sand had just been hosed down. That left Vanessa, and that was personal. She thought she was going to walk back into my arms with a smile and a few well-placed lies. I wanted her to walk into a brick wall. This is where Cameron enters the picture. Colton's current girlfriend. The one he told he was going to a wellness retreat in Arizona while he was drinking cocktails with my girlfriend. Finding her was not hard. Teachers do not have secret identities. One school directory later, I had her number. Breaking the news to her was not easy. Telling a stranger that her boyfriend is in Vegas with your girlfriend does not come out naturally. But I explained it calmly and sent her the photos, the audio, the proof. Silence. Then crying. Then anger. Not the loud anger. The cold kind. The kind that promises revenge. That is when I gave her Vanessa's return flight details and made her a proposal. She expects to see me, but I think you are the one she should see first. Cameron did not hesitate for a second. She wanted in. But I am not stupid. You do not put two angry people in an airport hoping everything goes smoothly. If you do not control the scene, it escalates. And I did not want chaos. So I hired a private security guard I know, a former military guy, part-time limo driver. He would wait in the arrivals area with a sign like any other driver. His phone would live stream everything in HD straight to my office. Meanwhile, Cameron would be in position with her secret weapon, a giant poster showing Vanessa sitting at a blackjack table in the Wynn High Roller Lounge, Colton's arm wrapped around her. The photo was crystal clear, thanks to my contact in casino security. No caption needed. But I was not going to stop there. Public humiliation is one thing. Legal consequences are another. So, I called in a professional process server. Impeccable suit, square walk. He would step in right after Cameron's reveal, call Vanessa by her full name, very loudly, and hand her an envelope. Inside, a formal eviction notice and a restraining order. 30 days to leave my house. Banned from showing up at my office. No more texts saying we need to talk. It was over. Officially, legally, publicly. While she was off the grid, I had already secured a temporary protection order and drafted the 30-day notice. Retrieving her belongings would have to be done through a neutral third party under supervision. No surprise visits, no scenes. Vanessa thought she had blocked me for 5 days. She thought she was in control. The truth is, she had just given me the space I needed to build the stage on which her double life was going to collapse. And when the curtain fell, she would not be walking away to applause. She would be buried underneath it, and the shovel would be in Cameron's hands. Sunday afternoon arrived, and Vanessa's flight landed right on time. I was not at the airport, of course. I had my agent streaming everything in HD, my laptop open, coffee in hand, like I was watching a pay-per-view event. And honestly, it was one. The feed showed the arrivals hall packed with people. Families with balloons, Uber drivers scanning their phones, travelers rushing toward baggage claim like the carousel was handing out gold bars. Then they appeared. The four of them. Vanessa in front, pulling her suitcase, phone in hand, hair flawless. She was smiling so much you would think she had just cured world hunger, not spent 5 days lying to everyone from Vegas. Behind her, Miranda, Kayla, and Lydia walked with their arms full of shopping bags, all laughing like life was perfect. I settled back into my chair. It was showtime. On the screen, Vanessa scanned the hall, clearly looking for my face among the people waiting by the doors. Instead, her eyes landed on Cameron. Calm, motionless, planted right in the middle of the hall, holding an enormous poster in her hands. And not just any poster. The photo my Vegas contact had provided. Vanessa and Colton sitting together at a blackjack table. His arm was wrapped around her shoulders, both laughing like a couple on vacation. The image was high resolution, as crisp as if it came from a professional photo shoot. No escape. No, that is not me. No bad angle excuses. Vanessa stopped dead in her tracks. Her smile vanished. Her whole body froze like a computer crashing to a blue screen. Her friends bumped into her before they realized. Then their eyes followed hers and landed on Cameron's poster. Their chatter cut off instantly, like someone hit mute. Cameron did not say anything at first. She did not need to. She just stood there, holding the photo up high, letting everyone around them put the puzzle pieces together. And people did. You could see the whispering start, phones coming out, strangers pausing their own reunions just to watch the slow-motion car crash unfolding before their eyes. Vanessa tried to regain her composure. She let out a nervous little laugh, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, and tried to walk around Cameron like she was just some random crazy person. Bad choice. Cameron took a step forward. Her voice was clear, calm, and sharp. Funny, Colton did not fly back with you. That is because he is busy explaining this photo to me. Boom. The entire hall went from murmurs to captivated silence. A circle formed, like in an arena. Phones went up everywhere, ready to record every second. Vanessa's friends looked at her as if they had suddenly realized the ship was sinking and none of them knew how to swim. Vanessa turned pale. She tried to stammer out, "It is not what you think," but she did not even have time to finish because Act 2 was starting. A man in an impeccable suit stepped forward. Not a cop, not an airport employee. My process server. He held an envelope under his arm, and his voice carried across the hall, loud enough for everyone within 30 feet to hear. He called out Vanessa's full name. Vanessa turned to him, stunned. She managed a small nod. "You have been served." He handed her a packet. A court-stamped temporary protection order and an eviction notice. 30 days. It was all spelled out. No contact, no visiting my house, and any retrieval of belongings had to be organized by a neutral third party under supervision. Over. Officially, legally, publicly. She stood there staring at the papers, her hands shaking. Then everything slid to the floor. The photo, the audience, the papers. Too much at once. She covered her face and started crying. Not out of pain, but out of humiliation. And her ride-or-die friends? Yeah, they did not really ride or die. Miranda grabbed her suitcase and bolted. Kayla was already taking out her phone to order an Uber. Lydia darted panicked looks around before disappearing into the crowd like a rat fleeing a burning ship. The live stream captured it all. Vanessa collapsed on the floor among her designer bags while strangers filmed her downfall for their Snapchat stories. Cameron stood still, holding the photo like a trophy. The process server walked away like it was just another formality in his day. And me, miles away, sipping cold coffee, watching the woman who thought she could block me for 5 days find out what it really meant to be blocked. When my agent cut the feed, I did not feel rage or sorrow. I felt clean, sharp, indisputable closure. Vanessa thought she was untouchable. Instead, she was crushed under the weight of her own lies in front of 100 strangers and 3 friends ready to abandon her in 3 seconds. It was a funeral. No coffin, no flowers. Just the public burial of the double life she thought she could hide. But funerals do not stop at the grave. They echo. And when Vanessa's world collapsed in that airport hall, the shockwaves traveled far. What she did not know was that I had already lined up the dominoes. I just had to watch them fall. The first domino was Charles Whitman. His wife, Dr. Evelyn, did not waste a second. On Monday morning, she was sitting in a divorce lawyer's office with the file I had anonymously sent her. She did not yell. She did not break anything. She operated like a surgeon, making clean incisions. She filed immediately and froze the assets. Her prenup allowed her to transfer funds into a trust for her kids if Charles had an inappropriate relationship, and she executed it, as if she had been practicing the move for years. Millions were moved out of Charles's reach before he even had time to unpack his suitcase. And the news spread like wildfire. The board of directors at his firm found out. Suddenly, the image of the model family man did not really fit their values anymore. They could not fire him overnight, but the pressure was mounting. Private meetings, whispers, colleagues avoiding his calls. Charles still showed up in custom-tailored suits, but everyone knew he was on borrowed time. Next, it was Miranda's turn. Remember, she appeared in half the photos with Charles, clinging to his arm like she was auditioning for a reality show. Dr. Evelyn's lawyer had her name added to the court filings. Public record. You can imagine what happened next in her social circle. She went from self-proclaimed queen bee to radioactive. None of the rich guys she courted wanted to be associated with the woman named in a millionaire's divorce papers. Her whole identity rested on her status as a ringleader. Now, she was toxic. Then came Colton. My journalist friend had followed the lead I gave him, and he jumped on it like a pit bull. By Wednesday, An article came out in the business section. The headline equated to, "Local developer lives large while investors foot the bill." And the Vegas trip was mentioned in black and white. Suddenly, his lawsuits were no longer just dusty files. They were tied to photos of him drinking with women in casinos. His partners saw it, lawyers saw it, and even his tenants must have seen it. Colton went from a wannabe tycoon to a living cautionary tale overnight. The complaints intensified, and rumors of further legal trouble started swirling. Cameron did not waste a minute. With my help, she started preparing a lawsuit for financial damages. She was not just furious, she was focused. I gave her the roadmap, and she delivered the final blow. And then there was Vanessa, the star of the public airport funeral. She had no boyfriend, no house, no allies. Her friends had abandoned her at the baggage carousel. Her so-called exciting Vegas trip had turned into a highlight reel of her own humiliation. When she finally called her parents to come pick her up, she was already stripped of everything. 30 years old, crying in the passenger seat of her dad's car, clutching an eviction notice. Going from living in a house she did not pay for to sleeping in her childhood bedroom under posters she probably hung up in high school. Back to square one. Of course, she tried to reach me. Burner phones. Fake email accounts. A new number through her work. Every message was a variation of, "We need to talk. You do not understand. I am begging you. Listen to me." But I did not answer. My lawyer sent her a cease and desist letter reminding her of the protection order. Clean, cold, finished. Her friends tried too. Miranda claimed she knew nothing. Kayla said she had been fooled too. Lydia played innocent because she posted less. They all wanted to rewrite history now that the grenade had gone off. I ignored them. They were not victims. They were accomplices who vanished the moment the heat got real. Meanwhile, I spent the week erasing Vanessa from my life as if she had never existed. I photographed and inventoried her belongings, packed it all into boxes, and placed everything in a temporary storage unit. Through my lawyer, I set up supervised time slots at the facility for her and her parents. She was listed as an authorized person for pickup. The manager would hand it all over. End of story. When the eviction period expired, I changed the locks and closed the book. New number, updated accounts, deleted photos, ghost protocol. And from my office, watching it all unfold, I am not going to lie. It was satisfying. Not in a Hollywood way where the hero wins. More in a methodical way. This is what happens when you play stupid games. Every piece had fallen exactly as planned. Charles was cornered. Colton was sinking. Miranda was toxic. Cameron was at war. And Vanessa. Vanessa was just a name on a legal order, crying in her childhood bedroom at her parents' house. She thought she could have it all. My stability and the thrill of another man. She thought blocking me for 5 days was a clever loophole. What she never understood is that in my world, lies are not just exposed. They are documented, filed, and used as weapons. She gave me space. I turned that space into a shooting range, and every bullet hit its mark. 6 months have passed since the airport. Half a year feels endless when you are living it, but looking back, it flew by in a breath. The chaos, the drama, the ruins. It all settled into silence. And in that silence, I started building something new. The fallout from those 5 days did not evaporate. It solidified into permanent changes for everyone. Charles Whitman's divorce was finalized 2 months ago, and it was not pretty. Dr. Evelyn played her cards perfectly. Armed with my evidence, she transferred what she could into the children's trust, then bled him dry in court. Charles lost the house, a chunk of his fortune, and eventually his job. The board pushed him out under the guise of restructuring, but everyone knew the truth. He is not officially blacklisted, but his reputation is radioactive. The man who used to strut through rooms now avoids making eye contact. Miranda took collateral damage. Her name appearing in the divorce papers turned her into a social pariah. She tried to act like nothing had happened, but wealthy circles thrive on whispers. And when whispers turn into facts, doors close fast. The rich men she gravitated toward treat her like she is contaminated. Her queen bee status is gone. She is just another extra, desperately looking for a place in circles that no longer want her. Colton suffered the most brutal fall. The article about his shady finances triggered an avalanche of lawsuits. The investigation snowballed. He went from a smug developer to a serial defendant. The court cases bled him dry. Further legal trouble might be next. Cameron left him for good, and with my help, filed her own lawsuit to recover damages. He thought he was untouchable. Now he is clinging to crumbs. Vanessa's story is quieter. After the airport, she hid at her parents' house for weeks. Then she managed to scrape together enough money for a small apartment. From what I have heard, she found a modest job, barely enough to cover rent. Her friends never came back. The social life she valued so much? Dead. No more Vegas trips, no more glamorous posts, nothing but silence. And for someone like her, silence is the worst punishment. She reached out to me one last time. Not by phone, not by text. She understood those methods were blocked. 2 months ago, I received a handwritten letter forwarded by my lawyer. Several pages long. It was not the usual litany of excuses or claims that I had misunderstood. She did not ask for a second chance. She did not make excuses. She owned up to everything. The blocking, the lies, the blackout. It was all her way of juggling the stability I offered and the thrill she chased. She said the airport was the worst day of her life, but also the first time she truly saw herself for who she was, someone who valued attention more than love. She added that she was in therapy, trying to fix herself, and maybe one day become a person she would not hate looking at in the mirror. She ended by saying she did not expect my forgiveness, but wanted me to know she was sorry. I read it once, put it in a drawer, and for the first time since this whole mess, I felt neither anger nor triumph. Just closure. Some things break, and even with all the glue in the world, they never go back to the way they were. Our relationship was shattered glass. As for me, my life did not just return to normal. It got better. Cameron and I stayed in touch after the airport. We were two people who had been burned by the same fire, and we recognized that in each other. At first, it was coffee, then dinners, then more. We did not really talk about Vegas. We talked about our families, our jobs, silly little things. And slowly, something real was built. Something founded on honesty. No fireworks, no chaos. Just trust. And for me, trust is everything. It is not a Hollywood ending where I ride off into the sunset, but I do not need one. I have peace. I have a partner who does not lie about where she is going or who she is with. I have a business that is thriving because my personal life is no longer a battlefield. And above all, I took back control of my life. Vanessa thought she was smart blocking me for 5 days. She thought it gave her the space to live a double life. In reality, it gave me the time to dismantle everything and build a wall she will never cross again. She gave me a blackout. I gave her permanence. 6 months later, the dust has settled, the noise has faded, and I realized something. Consequences do not fix everything, but they force the people living behind illusions to face who they really are. At that airport, the masks fell, the strong became stronger, and the liars were buried under their own weight. I do not think about her anymore. And that is the biggest victory. Yeah. Comment. Reading through this experience reminds me how important it is to protect our peace. When someone breaks your trust, you do not have to match their toxic energy or lose yourself in the chaos. Walking away with your head held high is often the most powerful response you can give. People who build their lives on lies eventually have to face the reality of their choices. Your job is to focus on healing and rebuilding a life grounded in honesty. It is beautiful to see how shared struggles can sometimes lead us to the right people. We all deserve relationships where we feel completely safe and respected. I hope you always remember your worth and never settle for anyone who makes you question your place in their life. Please take a moment to share your thoughts on setting healthy boundaries in the comments below. I always love reading your insights and connecting with this amazing community. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.